What is up? Welcome to Defense Diaries. I am your host, Bob Mata, and this is our continuing coverage of Gacy Part 2, the search for additional Gacy victims. So I am a little under the weather, and I'm waiting for Bill. I know he's awake over there in Europe, so he hasn't come backstage yet. So we're just going to kill some time and see what's going on, and it's good because we can let people come in and we can get our bearings. So as you can see, I am very much in the Christmas spirit and running ragged. Got a terrible time to get sick. So, but you know how life is. Life likes to throw us curveballs every minute of every day. So, the show must go on. I've been trying to record Garcia, the next episode, but typically I go 5 minutes and then I am coughing. So it's been challenging because I know that I got some Garcia fans out there and I know that y'all are waiting. So I'm going to try to power through that and get it done tomorrow, get it in Darren's hands. Fortunately, Allie and I did record Avery 11, so that is in the can. It's in post with Darren now. We're hoping to drop that maybe as a Christmas gift, maybe on the 25th. Maybe that's a good thing, a good way to relax, wind down from the late night of rapping. If you're anything like us, that usually goes till 3 and 4 in the morning, because we're not those people that are rapping way ahead of time. And it's like just we're down. It's a family affair. Get the music cranked, doing the rapping, getting everything ready for the big day, for the big morning. So what we're gonna do tonight, if Bill ever makes it, and I spoke to there. Oh, Mandy's here. So Mandy's here. That's good. So Mandy, I got one of my mods backstage with me. I got excited. I thought it was Bill. So basically what we're going to be doing, if you guys missed the last live with Bill, Bill had conducted a series of interviews back probably, I want to say early 2000s, maybe late 90s. I'll confirm that when Bill gets on. And all these folks that you heard from last week and everybody that you'll be hearing from now are all people that lived in the building on Miami and Elston during the time that John Wayne Gacy was the maintenance man over at DJ, this isn't the flu. This is like that cough thing, whatever that, it's not the RVS or whatever that thing's. It's like it's some weird cough. I don't know where it is. It came up. I pretty much feel fine aside from the cough. That's kind of like the thing. So if I go into a horrible coughing jag, you can't catch it through the internet, as far as I know. So you guys should be fine. But much like people ugly cry, I think I could probably ugly cough. So just beware. And be ready, prepare yourselves mentally for me, ugly coughing on a live. I'm going to try to do the best I can to avoid that. Like if I feel the itch coming, I'll have a drink and, try to beat it back. As far as I know, there's no such thing as coughing gum. Maybe Jay knows something about that. So at any rate, and Bill had told the story, and I don't know if we've got folks in here that haven't been following what's going on in terms of what Bill and I are doing. But kind of the long and the short of it is we believe we know where there are additional Gacy victims buried. Law enforcement has done nothing for the past 43, 44 years in terms of really any kind of investigation into any additional victims of Gacy. And I actually there was somebody who messaged. I was on News Nation last night playing some of the clips that you can hear in Gacy season part 1, the podcast, which if you haven't heard and you have any interest in this case, I cannot recommend it enough. Yes, it's my podcast, and yes, I'm very biased, but there's never been anything on Gacy that's even close to what I did along with Darren, we just put together something that is, to me, unparalleled. Obviously you hear the tapes, but it's way more than that. All right, hold on. Bill's on the phone, guys. So let me see what's up. What's up, Bill? We're live here. You're not in the thing. Just go into the. Yeah, I've sent that. Yeah.
I'm trying to put in the code, but it's not taking.
You don't put in a code. You just click the link. Just click the link.
Oh.
Like you keep doing you don't have to put in a code. No, yeah, just
Well,
open the email. Yeah, just open the email, click on the link, and you should jump right in. All right, I'll see you when you get in here. If you can't get in, call me back, because I'm like live right now. All right, bye, Bill. You can do it, buddy. I know you can. I know you can do it. All right, bye. Like, I'm old, but Bill's older. It's like the tech side for Bill is tough. He's like trying to put a code in. I'm like, you just click on the link, dude. Well, you guys heard it. You heard the whole conversation. So at any rate, so we're boots on the ground with this thing. We've got multiple locations that we believe that we might have some luck finding additional victims. And when I say luck, I don't necessarily want to find victims, but if we can give even one family closure, if we can give one victim their name back, then, like I've said before, I consider it to be, a monumental, monumental task completed. And I think that the families and the loved ones would be appreciative of it. And, I think that, so I was talking about, I was on News Nation playing the clips, and then I got into the Gacy thing with the podcast. But like, I saw a comment in there, and it was like somebody was saying, well, why don't you, and it was kind of like snarky, and it kind of made me a little bit upset. And I try to remain pretty even keeled. I mean, I get passionate about things, but you're rarely ever going to find me angry. Like, even if I'm angry about something and I'm speaking passionately, I'm not angry. I'm not screaming and yelling and swearing and doing things like that. It's just like, I'm a passionate guy. Things that I care about deeply. And so, like, that comment really rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm like, well, I as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if 100 years have gone by. If there's somebody that lost their life and disappeared off the face of the earth, and their entire family and the generations that have come after them have all heard the story about their cousin that disappeared back when, there's people that care always in perpetuity. And, 40 years is a long time, but I guarantee you that if we're able to recover somebody has been missing and wondering what happened to for decades, that they will be appreciative. No one ever wants to get the news that, their loved one was a victim of a horrific human being. But I think that there's some value in some form of closure. It was like, I just try to think of myself, if God forbid, like, one of my kids vanished and years went by, 10 years goes by, 15 years goes by, and I'm like, it would be with me every single day of my life. There would never be a day that I didn't feel like, my God, where's my kid? There would never be a day that I wasn't walking down the street, like, looking for my kid. I don't care how much time has passed. That would never pass for me, ever. So, I disagree wholeheartedly with that person. And yes, there are many, 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 beyond count, many missing people and loved ones out there, that, and cold cases that, there's a lot of people trying to work on, and this is the one that Bill and I are trying to work on. So, and I feel like, we have some really strong evidence to where it can be something that I think will bear fruit. I just do. And we could be wrong, that's certainly a possibility. And, and if that's the case, so be it. But, we're going to go down swinging. We're going to go down trying, because I'm not the only one who thinks it. I obviously Bill is very much on board. I mean, Bill's, knocking on 80. So, and the dude is, as passionate, if not more, than I am about this thing. And he's been chomping at the bit for 20 plus years to get this done. So like, this isn't just something that we're talking about and we hope that we're going to do. Like, this is something that we're going to get done. And, and ultimately, like, the way that it plays out is if, we end up recovering a bone, at that point, law enforcement has to get involved. Like, we can't continue to dig. I'm going to have to let Moran and the Cook County Sheriff's Police know about it. They're going to have to come over and take over. But at that point, the pressure's on. There is no more sham digs. There's no more going over there, putting a tent up, digging for 15 minutes and say, all right. Hey, Bill. Sorry, guys. What's going on?
I'm not getting, it says I need a login code. I can't get to the screen that says join.
I mean, I sent another invite. Try opening, like, I'd send a third invite. Like, you should just click on the link. Like, and it just brings.
That's what I thought, but it's not working that way.
Because
try it again.
There's no such thing as a login code from my end. It's not Zoom. You know what I mean?
No, it's for me. It sent me a login code.
Yeah, StreamYard is.
When I put in the login code, it's not working.
Yeah, Bill, this is like, we had the same issue the last live. Like, are you clicking on the link, like in the email? Like, there should be like a blue link, and then you click on it, and it should bring you right into the StreamYard.
Okay, I'll get to it.
Yeah, like, don't, like, just, like, I don't know what you're clicking.
Give me a second. I gotta try this again.
All right, but use the most recent one. It should work. You just click on the link, and you should pop right in here. All right, we're all waiting for you, Bill. We're all waiting. We're rooting for you too, Bill. We're rooting for you and waiting for you, Bill. You can do it, buddy. We love you. All right, everybody in the chat says we love you, Bill. You're the best.
Okay.
You could do it. All right, bye. Bill's so sweet. Bill's old though. Like, I'm not, dude is old. Defense Stars, he probably needs a Google login. Now, like, when you go through StreamYard, essentially, like, the invite gets sent directly from StreamYard. Like, if you guys have ever gone on Zoom, it's similar. Like, sometimes there you'll have a passcode, and you'll have to enter that in. But here, StreamYard doesn't have passcode, so he should just be able to click on the link. And I've sent it to him 3 times, so I hope Bill can figure it out. I have confidence in Bill too. I really do. Yeah, he is, Missy. So all right. So what we're going to do tonight again. So that's kind of the background. That's what we're doing. Like, that's what the whole purpose of this thing is this quest, this hunt, this mission to find additional victims. Because like, I always I'm trying to like, kind of interject when Bill's on. I try to give Bill like wide berth, because you guys, I'm a talker. Like, I've read it more than once. Why don't you let your guests talk and like, you shut up? And I'm like, well, I'm not like a strict interview show. Like, that's not my deal, man. Like I have conversations with people. Like, I'm not just writing up questions, and like, I'm trying to have engaging conversations with people, but I am cognizant of people want to hear more from my guests. So like, I take that constructive criticism and I try to incorporate it, because you guys are what matters. I mean, I can just sit in my bed and talk to myself. I don't have to, come on a live. So like, I always do take constructive criticism and try to incorporate it in terms of what you guys want. And I do want to, like, I was going to kind of do like a JBN like press conference thing, but I'm pretty excited to announce that Allie and I are going to be doing something. We're still going to have these type of things where we have guests on and obviously updates on breaking stuff, but we're going to start doing a daily show, a daily morning show that both Stevie and Mandy, who are not just mods here, but they're far beyond that for us. They, they're kind of like behind a lot of the creative stuff that you guys see here. And I had gone to them with a concept that I wanted to start doing on a daily basis in terms of kind of like a true crime, like short 20 to 30-minute crime show every morning for when people wake up. Allie and I are both going to do it. She's agreed to get on camera that early, which she wasn't thrilled about. But we're going to, cover the events that occurred the day prior in the true crime world, whether it be trials, breaking stories, and we're going to also give you updates on what to expect throughout the course of that day. We think it's going to be pretty awesome. Stevie and Mandy came up with what we love as a title for it. It's going to I kind of want to save it, but I'm not going to because I love it. They came up with we came up with like a lot of different, and I know I'm killing time here, y'all. Bill's still struggle busing here, so we're just gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait for Bill. I know he can figure it out. So like this show that we're gonna do, and we're gonna lead into JBN. Because I let Jay know. So basically, I'll be done by the time that Jay is going on, and any of our other friends, because like I try never to step on toes with respect to my friends, that got that have channels that are I consider to be partners in this crazy little true crime community we have. So essentially, I'll be leading into Jay's show typically. And we're going to call it the morning drop. And we think it's awesome. Like Stevie and Mandy have been putting together some graphics that we think are amazing. And I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be really, informative. I think you'll get kind of a different slant than just watching typical morning shows, because it's going to be, obviously Allie and I. So we're pretty excited about it. Yeah, we threw a lot of names around there. Like Jay had come up with eggs and break-in. What did I get? Like Darren, my producer, came up with a couple that I liked. I can't even remember what they were. But like at the end of the day, I thought that all right, can I try dropping in the chat and Bill? Okay, I could try that. Let me see. All right, let me Mandy came up with an idea. All right, so I'm gonna go. So here's what I don't know how to figure out. I don't know how to get into like the chat. Like I can see comments here. Let me see. Okay, I want to try this to see if Bill can do this. Now y'all don't be jumping in the stream. I don't want like all y'all jumping into the StreamYard now with that little comment that I just posted there. That's for Bill only. The morning drip sounds like a STD to me. Like I thought about that. No, the morning drop I like it. It's different, and I think it's got more of a criminal like criminal law type element to it. Okay, let me so Mandy, and sorry guys, this is like, this is like you're in the middle of like a technical nightmare right now. But I actually just like shooting the shit with you guys. So let me see. I'm gonna call Bill again on Viber. That's what I use him to call him on. Okay. All right. Let me see if this works. This is exciting. This is us trying to figure some shit out like live. It's exciting. Yeah, Viber. That's like what like you're trying to call somebody in Europe and you don't want to spend $100 for a 2-minute call. You use Viber, Missy. I learned that the hard way. Let's see. It's ringing. Bill might have fallen asleep. Remember, it's like 4 in the morning there. And I think that I was waffling about whether or not I was going to do this live with Bill because kind of I'm under the weather. So I was like, yeah, you know what, man? I think I'm going to push it tomorrow. He's like, this date has great significance. And I'm not going to tell you why. If you listen to the Gacy season, you'll know why it has significance to that case. Yeah, I'm going to need to talk him through it. Oh, Dave, you saw that? Yeah. They kind of love me over there. They love the Gacy sound that I'm giving them. So it's they keep wanting me on, and I'm there for it. Like I typically go in. Donnie, like Viber kind of is FaceTime. Like Viber is, oh, Missy, I take zinc every day, like 100 milligrams. It's probably more zinc than I should be. Yeah, Diz, like Viber is essentially WhatsApp, except it's a little different. Like you can chat, it's encrypted. It's the same thing. It's like Signal, WhatsApp, Viber, all the same vibe. All right. Okay. Let me try to. All right, let me see. Okay, let me try to call him again. Dude, sorry about this. I mean, I don't know if I should just talk. Like I could clearly eat up the time. But I really want to get Bill on. I could even play the videos, but it's like that's no fun without Bill. They're his videos. So it seems like it would make sense. But I want to keep setting these thing up while I try to. So, and again, like I'm assuming that most of you watched like the previous ones. But with respect to like these interviews, like as I was saying, like we found out that and like all of us that have been like involved with this case in any capacity, that really law enforcement did zero investigation after Gacy was arrested. You know, it's like, I mean, nothing. Like what you see with like Huerman or any suspected serial killer these days is like a situation where, you know, they do investigation. They're trying to find out if they killed more. I mean, with BTK, they were trying to do it, you know, and Carrie was trying to help out with that. And, you know, people are giving her shit. And she's like, well, you know, like he's my dad. Like I might be able to actually help. And like, I don't understand why people come at her. I think she's amazing. I think she's like suffered so much. And I think that she's trying to help do important things. And I never understand why people attack her ever. And I'm pretty defensive as to her. I don't like seeing it. I think it's uncalled for. I think it's ugly. And I think that people forget that, you know, she's be pretty rough to be kind of the unwitting child of a serial killer and then have to grow up with that. I can't think of many other things that might be more challenging than that. You know, and you can see, if you know anything about Carrie, she struggles, you know, like any of us would. That is like an absolute, you know. So like I'm very protective of her whenever I'm like in the same arena with her and I see somebody like popping off like, oh, you're making money. I'm like, oh my God, people are just so, I don't know. All right. So, but there just was no investigation, you know. So like Bill, former homicide detective, was like, look, you know, I can't stand around idly by. I assumed that Chicago, when I brought him information, would investigate it. They didn't, you know. So Bill took it upon himself to start his own investigation. I mean, the guy was a longtime cop. And you know, it's one of those things where he just started digging in, you know, like Bill's like pre-internet sleuth, except he's an actual cop, you know. So Bill said, all right, well, I'm going to go right to the source. I'm going to go to the people that lived in the building when Gacy was the maintenance man. I'm going to start interviewing them to see what they saw, if anything. And lo and behold, all of them had stories, you know, and all of the stories are super compelling. And all of those stories have like continued to drive Bill to do what he's doing. And then he obviously found me. All right, sorry. Bill. And and that led us to here. And Bill found me through the pod, and like him and I became friends, and him and I were like, look, we got to do this thing. And he's like, the challenge for us is that Bill's in Europe, but I'll have to drag him back. And the other challenge, frankly, one of the bigger challenges is going to have to be convincing the property owner to allow us to dig. And I think I talked about this last live. I can't remember. Everything starts to blend in. And, at that point, I'm like, I got to go to the guy, and I've got to appeal to his human nature and say, look, there's a chance here that you could be heroic, like that you can give somebody their name back, that you can give a family closure. And, like, do you want to be that guy? It's like, it seems like that's just a hard thing to refuse to me. Like, I wouldn't require money. Some people would, I'd be like, hell yeah, man. I'm like, let's go. I got shovels. Let's get to digging. I'd be all about it, if I had any chance about doing it. So I'm hoping that the owner is going to be of the same mindset, but you never know. And, but if I got to come up with dough, then I got to come up with dough, to make it happen. And then, obviously the challenge from there, if we do end up finding remains, is to identify them, and obviously it's a much different story now than it was then. In terms of like the ability to be able to do it with the advances in DNA. I mean, in 78, they didn't have any of that stuff. In 78, it was dental records, medical records. If the victims wore any kind of jewelry and or article of clothing that was unique to them, or, not super common, those were kind of the ways that they were able to try to identify. But if you've listened to the earlier episodes of this, where we're talking about the Marino family and Mrs. Marino, and the challenges that they had in terms of Mrs. Marino not believing that her son Michael was one of the victims, and then Bill went through this huge fight to get Michael essentially exhumed, and then they did the DNA, and they came back and said, you're right, it's not Michael. And, it's one of those things where, like, she's like, I told you, and look, the reality of that situation is that, when they were digging these 27 kids out of the crawl space, like, bodies were stacked on top of each other a lot of the times. And every body was like skeletal, like they were all skeletal remains at that point. So, there's certainly a chance that, when they were trying to kind of reconstruct skeletal remains, that, wrong bones were going to wrong remains. And it was a jigsaw puzzle of sorts, of the most gruesome kind. But, obviously there could be bones that were mixed up with other bones. So, and I think, and I had asked Bill, I'm like, did you try, obviously that's a hard conversation to have with Miss Marino, but I'm assuming that you had it, that just because of that bone or what they tested didn't test, as being Michael's DNA, that doesn't mean that he wasn't one of Gacy's victims, because like Michael and his best buddy both went missing on the same day, and they lived real close to Gacy. So, it's got all the indicia of it being Gacy. All right, give me 1 second. I don't know what's going on with him. He's never had this hard of a time. I'm calling him again, guys. So what's going on, dude?
I'm trying to log in.
I don't know what you're saying. Log in. There is no login. All right, but here I have an alternate way. Can you get onto YouTube?
Well, can you see me now? I'm on screen, but they said I had too many attempts, so maybe that's why.
All right.
Are you seeing me on screen right now?
No. Mm-mm. No. So, like, can you get onto YouTube? Have you ever gone on YouTube? All right. Well, if you go on to the live right now, I posted the link in the chat. Like it'll be the only chat message from me. If you let's try that and see if you can get in through that way. I'm not going to hang up. Everyone's super excited. They're getting to watch all this glitchiness like live. It's super exciting. Yeah, Phil. Like I fully anticipate. You see it?
I just want Bob Mata.
No, it's Defense Diaries, dude. It looks like it should be the.
Okay, I got that one.
Okay.
Okay, I got Defense Diaries podcast. Go to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now click on the live. There's a live going on. Just click on it.
I'm looking for live. I don't see. Okay, yeah, I got it.
All right, and then like when you open it up, let it populate, and then you'll see a chat there. Okay.
I'm not seeing anything happen. I punched in live, but nothing's happening.
What did you just click on the live? Like it'll be the one that's saying that it's live now. Okay, I'm gonna put the link in the. Somebody give me a good idea. All right. Okay, I'm gonna post another comment here. Okay, so there's another link in there. And I think, hey y'all, does that come up as a hyperlink? Like will Bill be able to click on that? Are you seeing me live? All right, Bill, are you on the channel? Subscribe to the channel. Okay. And then and then go to channel, it should say go to channel. Okay, and there, huh?
It's not saying go to channel. I hit subscribe. And
Here, man.
personalize it.
I'm gonna FaceTime you. Show me what you're looking at. Is it ringing for you to do the camera thing? Because he tried. Tech time with Bob. Yeah, as you can see, it's like two like massively incompetent guys trying to talk each other through this. Such fun.
This is not like anything before.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I don't get it. It's like it's the same thing. I just sent the invite. Typically, you just click on the link and you're on. You know, you did have a little bit of a hiccup last week. I'm fearing that because I woke you out of a dead sleep that you're groggy.
I'm so sick. But I'm going live. I'm going to go to subscribe again.
No. Did you? Okay. Are you on the live? Are you seeing it?
Yeah, I'm not seeing you at all. No.
I'm
only getting. I'm on Defense Diaries podcast, but it says.
Do you see like all the videos?
Yeah.
Like so, you see like everything.
Yeah, I see all of that, and I went to subscribe, and then right next to that is join.
All right. So do you see, like the first thing you should answer your screen, answer your phone. Like I'm trying to call you on the Viber phone so I can look at what you're looking at. Does it say Just Facts as the header? Defense Diaries podcast? Or are you looking at like we have an old YouTube that you might be on? It should say Just Facts right in your face. Bold as all get out is the header. And then underneath it, it says the search for additional victims of John Wayne Gacy. And then it's got you and me. And it says live. Like I think are you seeing that?
No.
Okay, well, you're on the wrong Defense Diaries then.
What? How many more are there? I mean, I got your page here.
There's my original one.
Try this here.
It's a channel.
Bob Mata Defense Diaries.
It shouldn't say anything about Bob Mata. It's just Defense Diaries.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bob Mata Defense Diaries is what it's got.
No, it should just say it. Does it say? Can you turn on your camera for me, like so I can see what you're looking at? Like I've got to try to get you like all right, let me try to hold on.
My camera's not turning on. Hold on a second, maybe.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I can
I got so much to talk about. Oh, shit.
yeah, you're gonna have to practice this next time. Let's see. I'm gonna copy this link. Or do you use Viber just on your phone or on your YouTube or on your computer?
I'm using Viber right now. Yeah.
But on your phone or your computer?
On my phone.
Yeah, all right. That doesn't help us. All right, here I'd like text him the link to the live. How does he get that, Trish, from his phone to his computer? That's the challenge. All right, let me see. I'm gonna here. I'm gonna message you the link. I don't know how you do this. Do you see that?
Let me hang up.
Do you see it on? Do you see it on? Do you see it on Viber? Like I just sent you the link. That's what it should look like. That's the YouTube page. I mean, you've never gone to watch any of our videos on the YouTube, Bill?
Oh, sure I do.
All right, well, it's the same one that you go to watch the videos. It's the exact same one.
Yeah, that's Bob. I'm going to YouTube and I'm going to your videos, and that's it.
All right, well, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you, dude. It's like it's right there for you. It's like right under. Do you see where it says?
Well, I had a message that I had too many attempts. Maybe that's why I'm not able to get in now.
But that's on StreamYard. That's not YouTube. Like I stream through StreamYard, and then it pushes the video to YouTube. Like I'm not streaming it through YouTube. Like I'm streaming it through that StreamYard where you get the link. Like you're opening the StreamYard emails, right? Not YouTube.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how to use?
But they're sending them to me on PDOR, but I'm registered under the Gmail account.
I'm not sending them to PyDor. I'm sending them to the William Dorsch account. Like I don't use PyDor ever.
I know, but that's what I was trying checking both of them.
But did you see the invite? You know what I'm saying? Like what email do you want me?
But not on my computer. I'm gonna go back.
All right. So what can you use on your computer? Well, no wonder you can't get on. You're trying to log in on your phone. You're like your phone is.
No, I'm trying to log in on the computer.
But like, how are you getting the invite to your computer if it's on your phone?
It's coming on a computer. It's not on my phone.
So you're seeing the email on your phone.
There's about 10 of them here. There's about 10 of them, and every one of them is StreamYard login code.
Can you? I'm going to call you back on the video. You have to show me what you're looking at.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Call me back.
All right. Bye. Okay. Dude, this is amazing. Mandy, like I don't like. There's nothing I could do here. Like Bill's doing the best he can. So let me see. All right. It's kind of like dealing with my dad. It's a lot like dealing with my dad, which is super fun. All right. So I'm going to try to FaceTime Bill and see if I can get him to show me what he's looking at so I can see what this thing looks like.
Okay.
All right. Now point me at the computer so I can see what it looks like.
Are you seeing me?
I was seeing you, but now there's no picture. You just have to reverse the camera. Reverse the camera. What it's up in the upper right-hand corner. It's the little camera thing. Whatever you pressed is not it. See in the upper right-hand corner next to the three dots, just to the left, click on that.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. All right, now show me the computer screen. Okay.
See the code?
Yes. Scroll down. Here, show me the thing. The code is valid. What the? All right, let me.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me try to. You should be seeing this link. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna copy this link and try to email it to you, like old school. Like I don't know why it's sending you that. Okay. 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 This is amazing, Bill. Like I'm live with like 100 people watching.
Yeah, I know.
Like my total,
feel sorry for your listeners.
my incompetence. I mean, it's good though. I don't, this is what it is, brother.
It's the end of the year, but
All right. I'm sending this to you right now, and you should just be able to click right on that. I have no idea what that login thing is. Like, so refresh your email. And I sent it to William, your William Dorsch one.
Yeah, Gmail.
Correct. So refresh it.
I got it.
Did it come through?
Password reset started.
What?
Yeah, password reset started. Didn't ask didn't ask. You can.
Is that the one that just came through right now?
Yeah.
Huh. How bizarre. I scroll down. Like
I am.
Wow. All right. Show me the YouTube.
You see, showing me?
I don't know what the hell it's doing, dude. It's so weird. Like, is that? I don't know. I have no idea, Bill. I can't figure it out.
Never went.
Show me the YouTube. Show me the YouTube. Just show me. Yeah, show me the YouTube.
Yeah, this probably can't open it.
Yeah, well, it's because it's not working. Like you're not getting. Like the link isn't showing up. It's like I cut and pasted the link right onto that email, and it did.
Okay.
It changed. And maybe it's because you're in Europe. I don't know. All right, so go to your YouTube.
Okay, here's my YouTube.
Okay, that does.
And I'm going to
go to my channel.
Defense Diaries.
That's it right there. See where it says live, Bill? Click on it.
Yeah.
Okay, click on it. Click on the picture. And let it load. It's taking a long line, like it's taking forever to load. All right, people are watching the struggle bus. It's amazing. Like people are going to put this on as like a blooper, like the greatest.
And I don't have my cloth.
Yeah, I could tell. I could tell. Well, why isn't the live populating? Like, where is it? Like, where? Like, why isn't YouTube? Is your there? Now click it on again. Just the picture right next to the live. No. Bring your cursor down on that picture with you and me. Click on the picture. Double there. Click on it. Oh my God! All right, now skip the ad. Skip the ad.
Okay.
It'll give you the chance to skip the ad. You see where it says skip ad?
There you are.
All right, good. Now make it smaller. Make it smaller. Here, put the phone where I can see the thing. This is like when Jay's trying to, like, I'm trying to show Jay something on the phone, and it's like, he's like, no, go the other way. All right, can you get the chats up? I'm gonna post this one more time in the chats. I'm gonna copy it.
Yeah, I said chats are here.
Okay, good. Get the chat. Now I'm going to put a new comment up that has the link in it right here. This is so exciting if this works. All right, so that comment should come up. All right, it should be from me, like one of the last ones. Defense Diaries podcast. Go over to the chat. Scroll in the chat. Go down. There it is.
Right
there it is. Click that link. See if oh my God, I think it's working. Maybe. What's it say? Bill? Go to the screen.
Okay, I got it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This is a Festivus miracle. Are you like Bill? Are you almost there? Is it working?
This is a Festivus miracle. Are you like Bill? Are you almost there?
Is it working, Bill?
I hope so. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay, but you're hearing. All right, you got to shut down the YouTube. because otherwise we'll get double voices. But I'm still not seeing you in StreamYard.
You're here. All right, you gotta shut down YouTube. Because otherwise we'll get double voices.
All right,
I'm still not seeing you in.
What happened to the StreamYard? I saw it start to go in.
Mike is working. What happened to the StreamYard? I saw it start to go in. I show it on the screen, StreamYard.
Do you see me? Okay, check your camera. Okay, Bill, you got to scroll up and go into Enter Studio. That's what you're not doing. Scroll up. Bill, scroll up. Scroll up, Bill. Scroll up. And it's gonna say go to studio.
Enter Studio here.
Yes, enter studio, Bill. Yes, that's what you have to do.
It's gonna say go to studio.
Oh my God, Bill.
Yeah, enter studio.
Enter studio. We're so close, Bill.
Here.
Oh my God, Bill.
Enter studio.
I see it, Bill. You have to scroll up this. There, the blue thing. I said scroll up, not down.
I see it, Bill. You have to scroll up.
There he is. Oh my God. Oh, Bill. You did it, buddy. Wow. That was amazing. That was amazing, Bill. Good morning, my friend. Wow, Bill, that was unbelievable. So I've been on for 47 minutes.
Yeah, good morning.
Oh, Billy. So Bill was dead asleep right when I tried to call him. Wow. You guys are the best in the chat. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Like 106 of you hanging out for that mess. That is a testament to you. I'd give you all a hug individually if I could. You know, I really would, because that's amazing. So thank you. Thank you for hanging with us for our technical difficulties. And, you know, if you screen grab some of that incompetence and you want to post it, I think you should.
I'm getting the double voice though.
Okay, check up. You might still have the YouTube running. Did you close the YouTube down? Speak so I can see if I'm hearing the double voice.
Well, now I think I'm all right.
You're good. You sound beautiful. You sound perfect. All right, good. So like I've kept these folks waiting forever. I've been trying to fill time while trying to get you on. So let's jump right in. Like these folks have been patiently waiting. So Bill, I didn't want to tell them the significance why you were so insistent that I drag my ass out of bed and do this live today, December 21st. Why is that date significant? But tell the folks why it matters.
Yeah. December 21st. This is the anniversary. 44 years ago today, John Wayne Gacy was arrested.
Boom. Date of arrest. Date of arrest. 44 years ago.
Just before Christmas.
The creep got caught 44 years ago today, kids. December 21st. A day that will live in infamy. All right. All right. So, Bill, we're gonna jump right into these clips. All right.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of them. The way that your guy sent them is a little clunky. Like I've got.
Yeah, you were right. I checked and it was not perfect.
Yeah. So like we're gonna have about 2 minutes. The beginning of it's a gentleman in a white t-shirt, bald guy, older. Who's that?
That's John Ignaffo Sr.
Okay, perfect.
The father of John Jr., who we saw last week.
Okay, so we're going to start this, and then I'm going to have to jump back out because there's only about 2 minutes of this on this.
There's only about 2 minutes of that?
No, but with the rest of it is on the next video. Like your guy, when he cut it all up, screw it.
Okay, good enough.
All right, so without further ado, and if you want me to pause it while we're going, Bill, just let me know. Give me
No, we're good.
Okay. All right, so we're going to share the screen here. And we're going to get this guy up, share it. All right, we're going to go over there. I'm going to pull off this graphic so people can see. Boop. I love that graphic, though. I'm keeping the snow, though, Bill. No one's getting
I love the snow, Bill. It is beautiful.
I've got the Christmas spirit, dude. Like, people can't stop me from having Christmas spirit. Just can't do it. All right. Okay. Without further ado, Ignafo Senior is about to go.
I'm talking to John Ignapo. John and I have been friends for a very long time, although we haven't seen each other since about 1980, 81, when we used to play ball together. We lived in the same neighborhood in Chicago on the northwest side at that time. I was living in an apartment building at 6048 North Elston, and John lived across the street where he owned an apartment building, a 2-flat. He lived on the first floor with his wife, Pat, and they had 2 children, Lisa and John Jr. At the time that I lived there, we were all friends with a couple named Lynn and Bruno Musinski. Do you remember them, John?
Yes.
And do you remember where they lived?
They lived in the basement across the street on Miami and Elston.
Was that the same basement apartment in the same building that became sort of infamous in Chicago crime history?
Yes.
Related to the arrest of John Gacy?
Right.
Back when Gacy got arrested in 1978,
On today's date, Bill.
You and your wife, Pat, had been friends with Lynn and Bruno, correct?
Right.
And more so than you, I believe Pat would go over frequently and visit with Lynn.
Yeah, she was very close friends with Lynn.
Okay. And from your...
All right. So thanks for joining us, friends. That's the entire... I'm just kidding. This is what I was talking about. All right. So we're going to kick it over to... Now, it's hard to tell which video is which. We'll find out. Oh, I think this might be the right one. Maybe I got lucky, Bill. Maybe I got lucky.
Okay.
We'll see. Oh,
vantage point from your building on the first floor.
We're good.
Going back through the early 70s. You had no privacy fence. You only had a cyclone fence.
Right.
And across the street at the Gacy building, they had no fence at all.
Right. No fence at all.
So you had a clear view from
What's up,
your
Steve-O?
windows across the street at that building.
Right.
Right. Now you had a son, John Jr., and a daughter named Lisa. When John was very young, he had an asthma problem.
Right.
Can you tell me something about that?
Well, he would wake up in the middle of the night and with his coughing spells and everything else and hard to breathe. So my wife, most of the time, my wife would get up and spend whatever time we needed to take care of him. And I would get up with her occasionally. So she'd be up sometimes 2-3 hours, early morning.
And you yourself would at times join her for me.
I would too, yes.
And during that time, did you have any occasion to look out through your windows from where you lived across the street at the building where Gacy was the maintenance man?
Yes.
And at the time that he was there, you didn't know his name even though, did you?
No.
You only became aware of his name when he was arrested.
Right.
All right. But you identified him. You knew immediately who he was.
Yes.
Okay. From that vantage point, when you were up in the early morning hours, waiting for your son to maybe go back to sleep, did you see some activity out in front of the building?
Yes.
And tell me about that.
One evening, early morning, really, we woke up with my son and sitting in the kitchen and looking out the window. I saw this individual, what looked to me like bags he was digging and had bags like cement. I don't know. To me, I thought that was cement, but I had no idea what he was doing. It was just digging. And
was he actually digging, John, or there's a definite action?
Well, there was a shovel, and I thought I saw him digging. From what I can remember, he would dig a little, but I saw these bags. I thought there were bags of cement. I thought he was putting a patio in or something.
This about what time of the morning
This
was
was maybe 3 in the morning.
It's kind of.
We lost the sound, or did I lose the sound? Bob, are you hearing it? I'm not.
Just-
Hearing what?
I walk to work
Okay.
down there every morning to go.
Now I hear him.
Some days you'd see a couple of bushes and then they'd be gone. And there was never any uniformity to it. It was just strange.
Did you ever see open holes?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. But you know what a shovel looks like.
Yes.
And even from where you were across the street, it was well lit, and you had no
Yes.
doubt who it was
Yes.
and what he had. And the contents of those bags, you don't know, but he did. You saw
There
him
were
carrying
bags.
bags, large bags, sort of like we're
Large
familiar
bags,
with, like
sort of.
concrete size.
Yeah.
Could be fertilizer, could be
Yeah.
anything like that. That's
Yeah.
how. Okay.
Lime? Could it be lime, Bill?
Yes, that's definitely.
After John Gacy was arrested, both you and Pat had talked about now some of these activities, which at the time we all dismissed as just being weird, but now they have more meaning because Gacy's arrested or digging up bodies under his house. You were both suspicious of what he was doing now because
Yes.
of that arrest?
Yes.
Did you or your wife ever contact the police?
My wife did, I believe.
And she would have called the Chicago police then?
Yes.
Probably to report it? And did they ever come back to you to interview you or your wife?
Not me. And I don't remember them interviewing my wife either.
But were you aware of conversations with Lynn and with Lynn and your wife? Were you ever present for any of the conversations after that when they talked about what
Oh, yeah.
Gacy did?
Yes.
Were they all in agreement that this was a location that needed to be looked at?
Yes.
And that was because of the strange doings, not only outside the building and where the lawn work was dug up, but where bushes were removed and also inside.
Yes.
And of course, Lynn would have had more knowledge of the inside
Yeah,
work.
Lynn would often say there would be weird noises in the middle of the night. There would be strange smells. Yeah, he was very active at night. Lynn would tell us, and Bruno.
It says from the
Bill, so let me ask you a question. Like, did you, and you're gonna talk to Lynn next, right? Is that the
Right.
next interview? So in terms of like the strange smells, like did she become aware of this at the time, or is this what she remembered thinking back? You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're thinking back, and that would have been from John's wife, Pat, who was deceased, and I couldn't interview her.
Okay.
Okay. He's
All right.
recalling what she had said that Lynn told her, or Lynn told them.
Like after Gacy's arrest.
Oh, yeah. Yes. After.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's roll.
this conversation I had with you, you said not only was there that Gacy had done some concrete work in the basement. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And that was in what area?
That was, you go down the staircase to Lynn's place, and then across from Lynn's door was a utility room or whatever. And there would be strange, well, this is what I remember Lynn telling me, that there was strange noises going on in there. He'd work in there at night, middle of the night.
But Lynn was a more frequent visitor over there, and
Yes.
she had the constant communication with, I mean,
Pat was
the
yeah,
more recent
right.
information that you had gotten from Lynn and discussed. All right, John, thank you very much. It's now 30 some years later and things are still happening, and we're focusing on a Miami location. And I just got one final question. You and Pat having direct knowledge of what was going on in that building, what is your thoughts about whether bodies are buried there or
There
not?
are absolutely bodies buried there.
Okay, John. Thank you very much for your reporting here. Thank you.
Yeah. And okay, you're going to go right into it. You can go right into Lynn.
No, we're going to pause that for a second.
Okay.
So set
No.
this clip up.
The thing when John's talked about the bags and you mentioned lime, lime is used to cover the smell, okay, of a decaying body. To put it on immediately, it's probably a good thing to do. The hole is open. Now, right across the alley from where the Miami apartment was a Corrado landscaping company, and you could walk right in through the alley side all over that property. And yes, they had a quantity of large bags of lime. Okay. John wasn't the one to pay for things. John would
was
grab
even
things.
aside from being like a horrific, like murdering bastard, he was a thief too. Like
Yes.
I had that whole thing in the podcast about him like stealing Christmas trees. Like
Yeah.
he had his buddy who owned a Christmas tree lot, and Gacy used to go
I
like,
bought a tree there.
I bet you did, Bill.
My wife sent me there because Gacy told her that they were selling trees.
Bill, go to Gacy's tree lot. So like I'm like, you know, but like Gacy would go steal this guy's trees and then sell them. Like the guy was like the biggest piece of shit.
Well,
like in every single way.
in matter of fact, in my book, I tell the story about Antonacci telling the story about when Gacy was with him one evening. Gacy said, "Come with me. We're going to go over to this construction site and we're going to steal some equipment." And Antonacci said, "Oh, wait a minute. You know, I'm not, you know, what if we get caught? I'm not interested in going to jail." And Gacy said, "No, you don't understand. If the police come, we're going to tell them we're returning this stuff to the site. And they're going to be, they have no knowledge of what we're doing. We just have to play it that we're not taking it, we're returning it."
Yeah, we recovered this on the street. See, here's what happened. We were driving down the street. We found all this stuff. I figured out where it was from, and we were bringing it back, officer. That's how it went. All right. So, all right, who are we going to hear from next, Bill?
All right. This is Lynn Musinski. She was married to Bruno when they lived in the basement apartment. And when they moved out, Gacy's mother moved into their apartment. Okay. And Lynn was the only person that I interviewed. I first contacted her, but I had given her information to the Chicago Police Department in 1998 before the first dig. Okay. Because I knew she had information. I didn't give them McNafor or anybody else's name because I didn't know at the time that they had information. And she told, she'll tell this story. She was very, very anxious to tell the story. And I set up an interview for her after the Chicago police told her they only wanted to know when she lived there. So I set up an interview with Mike Lyons, who was the investigator for the Better Government Association. And we all met at a hotel in right off of Devon Avenue across from Woodfield. And Mike interviewed her. And this is the interview that he did with her.
Oh, I was going to say, like, this is not like the quality of Bill Dorsch lighting. Like this looks kind of like an interrogation room, doesn't it? Like Bill's always got nice lighting, real crisp picture.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna kind of like be a little critical of your filming here because of the bad lighting and the blurry picture. So I'm relieved, Bill, to know that this is not your handiwork.
No, he brought his guy from the BGA with him to do the voice recording and the lighting. So
yeah, I mean the guy needs some more training, I would say. But like, can we hear her? Because that's really all that matters.
Yes, and
all
she's really intent. I mean, you're gonna listen to this, people.
I'm pretty excited. Let's go.
Something like that. Across the hall from your garden apartment, you were married at the time. Mm-hmm. Across the hall was.
You're jumping ahead a lot here.
A basement.
What was in the basement?
No, I didn't jump ahead.
A washer.
Okay, because I can see where.
No, that was the end of that other dude's
there?
audio. Remember, they're stuck together.
Okay.
Well, it had to be like in 67.
So somewhere in the late 60s.
Yeah.
And how long were you there?
Until 74.
74.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand your maintenance person in the building at some point was John Wayne Gacy.
Yes.
When did he start there?
You know, he was there about maybe 3 or 4 years when we lived there. When we first moved there, he wasn't maintaining the building. So yeah, I'd say he probably maintained it for 3 or 4 years while we lived there.
And you knew him and I think you even told me at one point that your husband offered him coffee, that sort of thing. What would he do to maintain the property?
Well, he would cut the lawn and clean up and plant bushes.
that sort of thing?
Yes.
Obviously, John Wayne Gacy became infamous in Chicago history, became somebody that everybody knows the name now. Looking back on that, and looking back on the time you lived there, do you have any reason to believe that he was digging holes for another reason other than planning?
Yes, now that I know what he did. Yes,
Tell me, why do you suspect that the holes were so weird?
Well, because he would dig them. They weren't actual holes. They were just large spaces. He would dig them and then he'd leave them for, quite a bit of time. And then all of a sudden he'd plant. And I just, like I said, I can't remember ever seeing him do the planting. I don't know when he did it. If it was, at night or when we were gone. But he would dig in completely different, no pattern. He would just dig and then leave it. And then all of a sudden it would be planted.
Were these small holes or big holes?
No, they weren't actually holes. They were just big spaces.
Like trenches or?
Yes, at separate places. There was no pattern of anything. Like when you're planting, you do a pattern. Well, this wasn't. He would dig and leave and dig, and then it would be left empty for quite a while.
And it was not only him that dug them, but it was kids that were with him that
He
were
would
digging?
have boys with him, yes, young boys.
And the thing that struck you at the time was that the holes would remain open for a period of time?
Yes.
Sometimes days or even weeks?
Oh, yeah. They would.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were there any particular areas that struck in your mind as just peculiar that he was digging?
Yes.
Like where?
Well, in the front of the building, on Elston and Miami, at the point, he dug a large space, and then there was a big evergreen on the corner, and then he dug another space, skipped that, dug again, and it was just left empty for a long period of time. And then finally, when the bushes were put in, it was just no pattern. It was, bushes, nothing, and that's how he planted.
It was strange to you, though.
Very
It was
strange.
Okay.
Yes, it was to other people in the building also.
Now, he had been retained by the person who owned the building?
Yes, Mr. Peischer.
Okay, and they had him as the handy person.
Right.
Later on, after you left, were you aware that his mother moved in the building?
Yes.
You'd heard that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Had you ever met her?
No, I never met her.
Okay.
I never met her. She took the apartment that we lived in. She rented the apartment we lived in.
Oh,
But
okay.
but we had.
The one across from the basement area?
Right.
Okay, so you do recall that there were holes, and you recall that the holes were being dug sometimes during the day by him alone, and sometimes in concert with some of the kids that he had with him. And they're not really holes; they're really more like trenches.
Right. They were not individual holes. They were areas.
Okay, and but you never saw him plant anything. You just come out some days and see something planted.
Right.
And it would be a surprise to you.
Right.
Okay, so it was after a period of time when the holes had been there for a while, and then all of a sudden you come out and there was something planted.
Right.
So you don't know when he planted. You have no idea when he was out there digging or
No.
anything like that. Did you ever speculate afterward about what could be in the holes?
Yeah. After the news, yeah, I did. Many times I talked to my husband about it. I talked to my daughter about it. And we all felt the same. We just wanted there could have been bodies there. We had buried.
What do you think? What does your stomach tell you?
Yes, tells me definitely. And that certain area that on the corner,
on the map that
that
you showed.
bothers me. And then there was the area going into the other side of the building by the walkway that he had planted there too. And there too, there was no pattern. He just, in those areas, yeah, I would definitely say I kind of have not a nice
Bad
feeling
feeling
about
about
that.
And
Right,
especially given the fact that it remained open for such
Right.
a period of time, it didn't look like, don't most gardeners have their plants with them when they dig and that
Yes.
sort of thing?
yes.
And these were not sort of little planting holes, these were large holes.
Mhm,
Yes. You were married at the time, and every once in a while you'd wake up in the early morning hours. Tell me about that.
Well, we just wake up to a door slamming, pretty good. And
Which door?
the basement door right across from us, our bedroom wall was against the basement because we lived in the garden apartment and then you had the basement. And Bruno and I would be sleeping 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We'd hear the door. Well, my husband would get up and he'd say, well, it's John. And, you just don't think of anything. You think, well, you do think, why is he here? But you wouldn't think anything like that, and he'd be in the basement.
So the basement door across, were there any other garden apartments?
No, ours was
Okay,
the
so
only one.
you have one garden apartment, and then right across from you is the basement.
Right.
There's a door on the basement, and occasionally, how many times would you guess?
I'd say at least 5 or 6 times. It happened several times where we were, awoken.
And you'd hear the door slam.
Right,
Now, how did your husband determine that it was John,
because he'd look out and he'd see the vehicle out there.
John's car?
Right, and then he'd say, well, it's John,
Now, what's in the basement?
Well, it's just a washer, dryer, and sinks and a furnace, and then there is storage for, each
But that's
person.
all.
Yeah, there was nothing else in the basement at the time.
Did it strike you or your ex-husband as peculiar that somebody would be going in the basement at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, honestly, it did. Well, you did. You wondered, why is he down there? But he was just different. He was just a different person, and he was very braggadocious, and I don't know, just how different he was. You just, I don't know, we never thought of anything like that. But yeah, you did wonder what he was doing there, but never asked.
There wouldn't particularly be any reason to be in the basement in the early
No.
wee hours of the morning.
Definitely not. No, nothing at all. There was nothing down there for him.
When you met him or talked to him, or when your husband talked to him, you indicated he was braggadocious.
Yeah, he always bragged about different things, and people he knew, things he did, and I didn't spend much time with him like Bruno talked to him. I just would go in the other room, but he wasn't. He was he'd say hello and that, but he always seemed to me. This is another thing. He always seemed to want to talk to a man more than a woman. It was not. And I had, just.
Did other people you think notice that?
Oh yeah, Carolyn and Mac did. They didn't like him at all. They thought he was very, very.
Did they also notice the fact that he's always with young boys?
Oh yeah, yes,
Something that was a conversation.
yes, that was.
As you know, I'm with the Better Government Association, and some months ago, former Chicago policeman, tremendous Chicago policeman, came to us and said that he saw John Wayne Gacy in the middle of the night, in the wee hours of the morning, 3 or not sure at what time, with a shovel in the front yard. Now, some people have suggested, well, did he really see that, or is that possible? What do you think?
Oh God, yes, I'm sure he saw it.
Why? Do you know Bill Dorsch?
Oh yeah,
He's a good reputation. You knew him for years. And it doesn't strike you as at all surprising,
No.
because this is the pattern that you observed as well.
right.
You observed him, or your husband would observe him coming in late at night. He's slamming the door at 3 o'clock in the morning, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Do you think it's worthwhile for somebody to go there now and to take a look at what may be buried on their
Yes,
property?
I do. I definitely do.
Why do you feel that?
Well, because I think parents have the right to know if their children are dead or alive, and I think it just should be done. I think it should all be taken care of, because this is not the way young children should be left. They should be given to their parents to be buried, even if it's bones, and just knowing that they are.
Now you're a Chicago girl. You grew up in Chicago. You became a professional. You moved out to the suburbs. What does your heart tell you? Is there a body or two buried?
I would think so, very much so. Yes. I think more than 1 or 2. Yes. And I think you should go ahead and do what you have to do.
Thank you. I got one of the sort of series of questions that I kind of want to pursue. We turned over our info to the Chicago Police Department, and we told them about what retired officer Detective Dorsch told us, and we told them about some of the other information we'd come across with the radar scans that we had done, and Detective Dorsch, retired Detective Dorsch, gave your name and asked the police to contact you. Did the police contact you? And your
Yes.
husband? They did?
Yes.
Was it tell me about the experience.
Well, it was very upsetting. They were very, very pushy. And the one officer kept calling me at work, and he just wanted to know the dates, and he just wouldn't stop. He made me very upset, and I just I didn't like it, and I told him, please. I think one day he called me 3 times at work the same day. And it was within a couple hours. And I just asked him to please stop calling me at work, not to bother me at work. I was at work, and if he needed to talk to me, he could call me at home. But they were very, very pushy.
Well, let me ask you, did they ever say, hey, let's sit down together and let's meet and you can draw me a map or that
No.
sort of thing?
No.
Never did that?
No.
So they never came out and talked to
No.
you personally or that sort of thing?
No.
Some people say, well, sometimes police can be very brusque and they can be very assertive, and sometimes you have teams where one policeman is very assertive and the other policeman is not. I think on TV they call it good cop, bad cop, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is it your impression that that's what this was, or was this something else?
Well, the one was very pushy, and the other one was nicer, And he did call me. The one did call me at home then, and he just asked me, please, if I could just remember the dates of, like when I moved in there and when I moved out. And of course, I told him, and he was much nicer. And the one was just very.
But you're pretty sure you moved in there sometime around the late 60s, 67,
Right.
something, and that you moved out on or about April of 1974.
Right.
Okay, and during the 2 to 3 years before that, John Wayne Gacy was the maintenance person.
Right.
And during the 2 to 3 years before that, he was digging holes that would be left unfilled for a long period of time.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you'd come out, the holes would be filled.
Yes.
And he'd also come back sometimes in the wee hours of the morning, 2 to 3 in the morning, slam the door.
Yes.
Was he ever there when you left?
No. No. He was gone.
So not only did he dig the holes, not only every once in a while were the holes filled in the next day or whatever, but he'd come at 3 in the morning, he'd come to the basement, which had some storage space and a washer and dryer, at
Right.
3 o'clock in the morning, and then you wouldn't see him when you left.
No. He'd be gone. No.
Is there anything else that you can think of that you might want to add?
I just want to do whatever you can to help.
I thank you very much for talking to us. I think it could be important.
Thank you.
Wow. So, I mean,
Yeah.
those are amazing
Okay.
interviews, man. Those
Well,
are
Bob,
interviews.
just like I said, your listeners, I said they've got the chance, rather than the story from the witnesses come through me, how much better is it to see the actual person doing the talking? And your listeners are like a jury in a courtroom making the judgments themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. But after you've listened to these 5 people who have no grudge or animosity towards Gacy, they merely lived there. Okay. I mean, this is why the Chicago police, sheriff's police, the state's attorney's office, why they were so afraid of that location. Okay. I mean, these people said you should look there. There's evidence we're suspicious of what he saw. I'm not just the only guy talking about this. All right. But people wouldn't know that unless I was giving this information to you. I mean, wait, take it back. The only people that had this information, I mean, these videos, was law enforcement. I wasn't putting them out on TV. I brought these videotapes to law enforcement for them to look at and evaluate. And they should have went out and talked to these people. But they didn't want anything from Lynn because they only wanted the dates. They're trying to dismiss her as a witness. If she gives them bad dates, they're going to say, bullshit.
Right.
Okay. And they're going to walk away. Well, they walked away with anything anyway.
Yeah.
But like I said, it took them 13 months after I gave them the videotapes, after I gave the videotapes to the sheriff's department. It took them 13 months to actually go out and interview these people. That's how they were hiding from it. They didn't want to go there.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say it was unbelievable, but it's completely believable, and it's the same shit that they did the entire time that Gacy was active, and they did nothing after he was arrested. You know, it's like, to me, like the outrage, like, to me, there's no story out of like every story that I told about any of the victims in the podcast that resonated with me more than Johnny Bukovich's father calling the Chicago police
Weekly.
once a week for 2 years, Bill, like without like, look at this guy. I know this is the guy, and they just wouldn't do shit, man. It's like that stuck with me. Like when I dug up that story, man, it pissed me off, Bill. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, my God, man.
How many lives would have been saved?
Oh, well, the way at my count, 29.
Right.
You know, it's like 29 kids, 29 young men, had Chicago PD done any modicum of investigation would be alive, you know. I mean, for the better part, most of them would be alive now. At least they would have had a chance to live their lives,
Right.
you know, get married, to graduate.
I think the parents of most of these children, the kids that were victims, most of the parents are deceased now. Okay, we're talking 40 some years ago, 44 years ago. All right, from the arrest, 50 years for some of these bodies.
Yeah.
But the thing is, law enforcement didn't want to do it. Mrs. Marino was a turning point for me. All right, before giving this tape to law enforcement and the state's attorney's office, and them not do anything, I had no power to make them do it.
Yeah.
You know, but Mrs. Marino was the impetus behind me starting to dig into this. And what I like to do is tell your listeners about first my meetings with Joe Kozenzak, who was the lieutenant detective that led the Des Plaines surveillance and that led to the arrest of Gacy, and also talk about Terry Sullivan, who was one of the prosecutors that was involved in the Gacy case from its onset in Des Plaines. Both of them wrote books, all right? And of course, I read those books. I've read them several times. And I thought, well, what better place to start my investigation than to go to Joe Kozenzak, who led the investigation?
Right.
Okay. So it went like this. I learned that he was a guest speaker at the North Shore Senior Center in Northfield, and that was in July of 2012. So I went out there, got there a little early, introduced myself to him, and he said, well, after I'm done, yeah, I'll gladly sit down and talk to you. All right. So after that, we sat down and we got into the case. And of course, one of the questions I came up with right away was, do you think there's more victims? He said, oh, yeah, for sure. You know, I still believe it to this day. He says, we all talked about more bodies. Gacy was so active. He says, the only persons that had problems with it were the state's attorney's office. This Bill Kunkel jumped all over me for bringing it up. No, we don't want more victims, and we want to get this thing into a courtroom and get it over with.
Right.
And that was Kozenzak. And he wrote a book on it. You can check on it. It's called The Chicago Killer. So
yeah, and that'll be fun to compare and contrast.
Oh, yeah.
What I uncovered about Kozenzak and what he did to get Gacy. You know, like I'm not sweating him, and you know, at least on the face of it, in terms of what he did, because you know, it was one of those situations where everyone involved knew what Gacy had done, and they just couldn't prove it. Like they didn't get the evidence to get him under arrest until they did, you know, but they had to manufacture it. But, you know, that's a whole different thing. But like I used Kozenzak's book because unfortunately when I did the podcast and I had Mike Albrecht and Ron Robinson and Carl Humbert confirm with me what had happened with that receipt, you know, I would have loved nothing more than to interview Kozenzak to see what his excuse would have been or what his story was, you know, and like when I knew that I had broken that story, like I had the of course the courtesy to call his wife, you know, I wanted to let her know. I said, well, this is what I've uncovered, and you know, I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to, you know, harm your husband's legacy, you know, like that is not my intent here. You know, but the fact of the matter is that historically, factually, this is how it went down. And it changes the narrative of this case as to what it's been for 40 plus years, you know, and she was like she was stunned. because she's like, I literally typed out that property evidence log, like on the typewriter, like for court. That was like, I literally typed that up. And she's like, and we used it, and it was in our book. I was like, I know. And it was used, it was file stamped. That was used in court. That was the official evidence log of what they recovered on the 13th. So she was like, and I think she was in Arizona. She was traveling. She's like, I'm not going to be home for like a few months, but I want to get home and I want to look at it. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, just go ahead and do that. I said, but I just wanted to let you know that we're going to release this. And, like Bill, you and I are both, and by the way, Banfield wants you on there, like on News Nation, but she wants you on solo. She likes having me.
Right. I understood. She said after the holiday.
Yeah. And like, cause they want to, they're trying to put together like an hour piece of like you and I doing interviews. Like I'm supplying the tapes. They're going to want you to probably play some of these clips of these great interviews. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to put them together as like an hour-long piece, which is really cool because, as far as I'm concerned, like you and I, when we decided to do this, we're like, man, we kind of want to operate in the shadows. It's like, we don't want law enforcement putting up the blockades that they've put up for so long. And at some point we were like, you know what? Screw it. Like we're going to do what we're going to do. Nothing's going to stop us. And, and if law enforcement wants to join in, then God bless them, then good. Finally. Thank you. But you and I both know that should we get over there, we get shovels in the ground, we unearth a bone, law enforcement's going to have to be involved. But at that point, the pressure's on them. There is no more of their bullshit. Like if we find a bone, they're going to have to excavate the whole thing because the public is going to demand it. There is not going to be, oh, well, we found one remain. We're done. We're good. No, you're going to excavate the whole damn yard. You're going to excavate under the, in that concrete pad that he put under the back stairs. You're going to excavate the parking lot in there. And that's just Miami and Elston, man. Like we've got much bigger plans than just Miami and Elston.
Oh yeah.
People don't like, we're not disclosing it, but like people need to understand this is not like a one property, one location proposition. Bill and I have a very good idea of multiple locations where we fully intend on investigating thoroughly, more likely than not doing GPR scans, maybe soil coring, which is where they basically stick a core sample in, pull it out, and they test it, especially for Lyme. That's why I thought the Ignafo interview was so interesting, him talking about those big bags, because the significance of that is that at that point in time, like Gacy had figured out through Tim McCoy, the first victim that he had buried under the house. And Carol was like, oh my God, the smell, like he figured out, okay, like I didn't realize that you'd be able to smell the bodies under the dirt. So he knew at that point, I've got to do something to remediate the smell, which is how he got hit with the Lyme thing. So, for Ignafo to be saying he saw him walking around with these bags, well, we know for sure it wasn't concrete.
Right. He would need water if he was doing concrete.
Exactly.
To add to it. And he'd have to have to mix it on site. He would have seen all that kind of activity. That wasn't there. Exactly. All right. But the thing about Kozenczak, like I said, important to go to him because he led the investigation. But he told me right away, he says, I believed in more bodies being there. But he says, after they took the investigation away from me and the Des Plaines Police Department, he says, I was no longer involved.
Yeah.
They weren't briefing me in on anything.
Which is true. True. Like,
so it was all in the hands of the sheriff's department. And he accepted that because he said, we're a little police department, but boy, do I wish they would have remained in charge.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
No,
but
right. We know to what lengths that they were going to get this guy. You know what I mean? And like once it became evident what was going on with him, like beyond just Rob Peast, I have to think that Kozenczak would have remained a man driven, and nothing would have stopped him. The problem would have always been with respect to Des Plaines is lack of resources. I mean, that would have been their biggest impediment. That they just didn't have the money. Like that was why they only had, like, they didn't have the money for that tale of Gacy, that 24/7.
Well, they had to even request an evidence tech because they didn't have one for their department. Then
That's
that
Carl
evidence
Humber.
tech, that came from the sheriff's
I
department.
know, that was my guy. That was the guy that substantiated everything. He was the guy where I knew once I interviewed him and he said what he said, that it was in stone, that they had planted that receipt. I just knew it. Like he was the guy that confirmed it for me, along with, his partner who had the original property evidence logs, and it was like, and I asked Bill Kunkel, the lead prosecutor, when I interviewed him, because, like he performed his entire closing argument for me. Bill was a very gracious guy, and I asked Bill flat out, I'm like, Bill, like I asked him two questions that I really wanted the answers to. One, why didn't you charge Cram and Rossi as accomplices? And two, do you think that there were more bodies? And, as far as Cram and Rossi went, he's like, well, I don't think that we had the evidence. And of course, I'm like, well, Bill, that Rossi was driving around in Zick's car for 2 years. From the statement that Rossi was there the morning that Zick, was the early morning hours that Zick was killed. Gacy gets up and Zick's dead on the floor and Rossi's asleep in the living room. I mean, what else do you need? That these guys were down there digging trenches. I mean, like, that Jeff Rignall, like, unequivocally said that when he would come to out of his chlorophyll or his chloroform, like, knockout sessions, that like he saw a guy that wasn't Gacy performing oral sex on him while he's strapped to a torture board. It's like, how much other shit do you need? I've seen people try it on a lot less than that. I'll tell you that. And you've got the evidence, in like both those guys lived with Gacy during his most active killing period. Like it's implausible to think that two kids who lived with them like for 6 months each at different time frames were not aware of what was going on and not complicit. It's like no one is ever going to convince me of that, ever. I'm sorry, but like no one's going to ever convince me that they weren't complicit. So, and that's like, do I have the evidence beyond what I just said? No. Like,
well,
and if Rossi wants to try to sue me, good. You know what I get to do? I get to depose him in a civil suit. I get to just sit there and grill him.
I'm there with you.
Yeah, I know it, man. So what about Terry Sullivan? Like,
wait, let me first finish with Joe Kozenczak.
Okay.
He told me, he says he believed that, he said Gacy told him there was at least 50 bodies that he had buried there. All right. But I had read his book. I had read Terry Sullivan's book. And I had one big question that I was going to ask both of them. Why did you feel it was necessary so many years after Gacy's arrest, when you wrote your book, that you had the need to change the name of Michael Rossi in your book? Joe Kozenczak changed the name of Michael Rossi, who he called Tom Venice in the book. And he didn't change the name of David Cram, though.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
In Sullivan's book, The Killer Clown, he changed the names of both of them. He changed Rossi to Dick Walsh and Cram to Chris Gray. Now, these two boys, Rossi and Cram, were well known to everybody. They testified at trial. Why? Why would you need to change the names in your books?
Right.
Well, I asked Joe first. I said, why did you do that? And he said, well, this is what happened, Bill. He says, a couple of days before Gacy's arrest, I think it was on the 18th, we had Michael Rossi in custody. We were grilling him. We suspected he had to be involved with Gacy. And if we found a body, we thought this guy's going to go down as an accomplice in the case. He says, but he heard noise out in the lobby of the police station. So him and Sullivan both walked out into the lobby to see what was going on. And there was a woman there with a man. And they walked up to her and asked, what's going on? And she said, "Do you have Michael Rossi here?" And they said, "Yes. Who are you?" She says, "Well, I am his mother." And they said, "Well, it's not really a problem. At this time, we're just talking to him about his acquaintance." And she said, "Let me tell you, if you don't release my son now, you're not going to have a job tomorrow." And they both looked at her and, quizzically. And like you and I talked about this is not an uncommon thing to hear. But he asked her, "Well, what are you talking about, lady?" And she said, "Well, because Michael Rossi, my son, is the grandson of Vito Marzullo. And any of you out there who live in Chicago, old enough in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you might recognize that Vito Marzullo was probably the second most powerful politician in the city of Chicago. He was an alderman with great connections." So I said to him, "Why?" That's the reason why, because of that. He said, "But that didn't really sway me." But I can't believe that. As good as Joe Kozenzak did in bringing Gacy to justice, he still years later had the fear of not putting his name in the book.
I know.
I mean, there's got to be something heavy hanging over you if you're so afraid years later that if you can't even mention this guy's name and he's in the court records and he's on, everything that we know about the case.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
Bill,
I asked,
when I was bringing Gacy Part 1 out the season with the tapes and the sound, and NBC put together a piece for us, like a promo piece, about a 5-minute piece. They had wanted sound. I gave them sound. A lot of the sound, Gacy talked about cramming Rossi all the time in the tapes, all the time.
yes.
First thing he said when he was arrested is like, "Who else you got in the station? I wasn't working alone." Like, that's literally the first thing that Gacy said. So when I send them NBC Chicago a bunch of the sound, and Phil Rogers, who was the guy, he was the reporter that did the piece. He hits me up and he's like, "Hey, Bob, I got to let you know, like, legal's not letting me use the Rossi sound." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, this thing with Rossi still going on? Like, they're still afraid of Rossi? I'm like, Victor Marsulo's got to be dead. Like what is the fear here? Like, are they worried about, like, Rossi trying to turn around and sue? I'm like, what is the issue? And it's like, I just don't get it. Like, I just don't get it, because if Rossi was complicit, if he was involved, he deserves to be punished. I don't care how long it's been.
And and it's in my book, we have evidence, a direct connection to him to the disappearance of others.
Yep.
And we have those witnesses.
Yep.
And that'll be later.
Yep. Yeah, that's all coming.
But when getting back to Rossi, I asked him, he said definitely he thought that Rossi should have been charged, because he told them when they asked about the Peace Boy, "Well, look in the crawl space." Well, the Peace Boy wasn't found there, but 27 other bodies were. Yeah. So you must have had some inclination that that's a place to look for a body. But he also said he felt it strange that the prosecution never brought Gacy or Cram to the grand jury, to prepare for the trial. They never did. It turned out that Rossi's attorney was Ed Hanrahan.
Right. Who, for those who don't know, was probably the biggest lead pipe swinging defense attorney in Chicago at the time. So it's like, but beyond that, like, even when Rossi went missing, and there's the story that Kozenzak, and I forget which cop was with them, when they went to Gacy's house, that was one of the nights that Gacy was out at the tree lot, and him and Rossi was with them. So Rossi was in the house. He had stowed away Rob Peace's body up in his attic, because at that point the crawl space was full. That's why he started dumping the bodies in the river. So Kozenzak is like at his front door, like completely without knowledge that Rob Peace, poor deceased soul, is up in Gacy's attic. Like, so that puts Gacy on to that the cops are onto him. So that's the night that Gacy ends up moving Peace, and it's known that Rossi was over at the house. You know, like you have to like Gacy was not a fit man. Like Gacy is not like dragging Rob Peace, who was a big kid, and at that point would unfortunately be dead weight, from his attic, dragging him out the side entrance, which is what Gacy always used to get in and out of the house, and pulling his, you know, he pulled up, I think he had the van. No, he actually had the Olds, and then getting him, like, he had help. Like, he had help. And like, they knew Rossi was there. Rossi's car was parked out front, like when they were sitting on the house, because that was it. After Gacy said, oh, no, blah, 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 whatever bullshit he said, you know, and said, look, you know, my uncle's sick. I've got to go to the hospital. I can't deal with your shit tonight. You know, I'll come over to the station, whatever. And at that point, you know, Cousin's like, I want you sitting on the house, like sit on the house. And at some point, like they pulled like a fast one on Desplaines. Like Gacy's able to get out of the driveway, and they don't follow him, because if they would have followed him that night,
Right.
you know, they would have followed him to the Desplaines River, because he used to go way down south on I-55. There was a bridge where he used to dump him off, you know, like in the south portion of the city, or the burbs. And like that was the bridge he was going in. And like that's the whole story, where he got stuck in the mud. He had to call a tow truck guy. Like after he dumps the body, like he gets stuck in the mud from where he pulled off to you know, dump Rob's body. And like the tow truck guy like has to come and get him out, and he pulls out, and that's when he rolls into Desplaines police station at like 2:30 in the morning, covered in mud, you know? So it's like, there's just so much there with it. And we're going to get into all of that for certain, but man, it's like the dude was the worst, man.
Yeah, he was. But okay, getting into Terry Sullivan, who was one of the three on the prosecution team at Gacy's trial. However, Sullivan was involved from the very beginning and helped to draft the search warrants for Kozenczak at the Desplaines Police Department. And in his book, The Killer Clown, like I mentioned, he also changed the names of Rossi, but he also changed the name of Cram.
Right.
All right. Now, I felt the need, after talking to Kozenczak, obviously, and now I have to talk to Terry Sullivan. So I called him up on the phone. I wanted to meet with him. He says, no, I don't want to meet with you, but I'll listen to you on the phone. What do you want to know? And first off, I asked him, you know, Ed Hanrahan. He says, oh, sure. I worked with Ed Hanrahan, you know, and, you know, I said, how is it that Michael Rossi's mother can connect with a man with Hanrahan to be her son's attorney? I mean, her son's not even charged, and he's got an attorney. All right. And he says, well, you know, he's a big man, a big name, and certainly he can influence a legal proceeding in Cook County. You know, a good man to have. But I asked her, because of what Kozenczak had told me, I says, I have information that Michael Rossi is connected as family to somebody in Chicago politics. And Sullivan said, well, I don't remember that. I says, well, no, tell me. I know from people I've talked to, they said definitely he had a connection to a particular person in Chicago politics. He says, no, it's like this. He says, as I remember, she might have worked for somebody who was a politician, but he was nobody big. He was small time, and I don't even remember the name, if I ever knew it. And I said, well, wait a minute now. Let me tell you this. I've met with Joe Kozenczak 3 times, and he's telling me that he walked out of the office with you and confronted a woman in the lobby who said she was Mrs. Rossi, and that Mrs. Rossi threatened you guys and said you would lose your jobs. And she said that that Michael Rossi was the grandson of Vito Marzullo, And he just was really, really quiet. He didn't say a word. And I said, listen, I got this. I've been meeting with Joe Kozenczak. I said, so tell me what it is. I said, either Joe Kozenczak is a liar, or you're a liar, or you don't remember. What is it? And he said, no more questions.
Right.
And I said, I want to meet with you. I want to talk. He says, yeah, we can set that up. He never did after that.
Yeah.
Never did.
Well, he avoided me like the plague when I was doing my series, like
Yeah.
the plague. Like when I broke the receipt thing and your buddy from GN had us both on, and you know, it was like right after COVID had ended. And like, as we were producing that during COVID, and I broke the receipt story, and you know, Sullivan was the legal analyst for GN. So, you know, he knew what the story was, and he knew that I wanted to talk to Terry, because I kept telling him, like, look, man, I want to talk. Who's your guy from GN? What's his name? Longtime Gacy guy, the reporter.
Oh, Larry Potash.
Larry Potash. So I told Larry, I'm like, look, man, you know, it's like I've been dying to ask Terry some questions about this receipt, because like the thing that people didn't understand is Bill Kunkel was not made privy to any of the investigation that was happening in that 10 days. Like Bill Kunkel didn't hear anything about it. And just so people have an understanding of the way that it worked, is Des Plaines or Norwood Park is suburban Cook County. So Bill Kunkel was the lead prosecutor in Chicago, Cook County. He was the lead guy at 26 and Cal. So while this was a Des Plaines investigation, like Bill just said, Terry Sullivan was the state's attorney that they were going to assist and help writing up the warrants and the affidavits and all that stuff. So Terry very much knew what was going on. And when Berlinger, who did the Gacy thing, after I told him about the receipt and he refused to put it in because he had already taped everything, and I was so pissed off. I'm like, man, you're putting out an absolute, you're continuing the lie. Like I just told you what the real story is. It's like, you don't have to change anything. You just have to say, we uncovered this, you know, or Bob Mata uncovered it like after the fact, but this is what happened with the receipt, because it's an unbelievable story, you know, and like Terry Sullivan's interviewed in that. And this is after I had broken the receipt story that Terry was interviewed for Berlinger's thing. And he like fesses it up. He talked, because like the reason that I was able to explain to the people why Des Plaines felt so, like at that moment in time, so like absolutely it was a necessity to plant the receipt and get the warrant to get into the house a second time, was because Gacy had filed that federal lawsuit. And it wasn't the lawsuit that mattered. That wasn't, like, him seeking money didn't mean anything. What mattered was them trying to get the temporary restraining order to stop Des Plaines from the 24/7 tail, which means that the investigation was going to be shut down. So if you watch that Berlinger thing, which is under his Conversations the Killer thing on Netflix, and you watch Terry Sullivan and listen to him talk about, he's like, well, that federal lawsuit was happening that following Monday. And we were terrified that the investigation was getting ended. It was like, it confirmed everything that I had been saying. Like Terry answered the question that I had put out there, that's why they did it. I mean, the investigation would have ended because they had been following Gacy for 10 days and couldn't come up with anything to get him back in the house. You know better than most, Bill, in terms of, you get the one warrant, and once you execute it, it's done. You don't get to go back in unless you get additional probable cause. You can't use the same probable cause twice to get a second warrant. You have to get more, because at that point they hadn't found anything on the 13th until the mystery receipt ends up somehow being found on that, you know, on the 13th, which is what got him into the house on the second day. So yeah, it's a crazy story, man. The whole thing's a crazy story, and we're digging in, my friend. We're digging in.
I got one last person I want to go to, and he's big. Okay, he's really big. All right. Like I said, began my investigation and talked to the witnesses, and I knew now I can't go to Chicago police and ask for cooperation. I can't go to the sheriff's department and ask for cooperation. But why not the FBI?
Right.
Okay. I mean, well, nowadays people have questions about whether you can trust the FBI. Well, I'll take you back to 2012. Okay. I went out to Palos Park to meet with the head of the FBI office there. And his name was Jim Roach. And I met with him on October 26th in 2012. And he knew I was coming because attorney Steve Becker, who had helped with Mrs. Marino's case, connected me with him. So he was expecting me to come in. And we went into an office together, and he brought in two younger FBI agents. I don't know that they ever gave me their names, but they sat at the table with me and Jim Roach, never said a word. Basically, they were there as witnesses. All right. And I told them all about Gacy and the people witnesses, and I gave them the copies of the 5 interviews that we have just watched. And he said, well, at the end of the meeting, he said, Bill, I'm really interested in this. And I'll tell you what, I'll get back to you in about a week. I'll let you know what I think. And I said, man, that's great. Thank you. I said, walked out there thinking, finally, maybe somebody's going to do me some help. And a week went by, no answer. Into the second week, I said, well, hell, I'll call. I called it, and all I could do was leave a message. He never called me back. That happened several times, and several more weeks passed. And finally, being the type of person I am, I called again, and the message I left was kind of threatening in a way. I said, I expected your cooperation, basically, and there's something amiss here. I don't know why you're not responding. I want to know answers, or I'm coming back down there. I want to talk to you. All right. So now I get a phone call from Jim Roach. And I said, well, what are we going to do? He says, well, Bill, I'll tell you the truth. I don't have enough agents to put on this. I said, wait a minute. This is the FBI. You're one of the suburban offices. There's other suburban offices and a downtown area office too. There's agents all over the country. You can call in extra agents anytime you want. And he lingered a little bit. And then he said, well, Bill, I'll tell you this. I'm a good friend of Sheriff Dart, and I don't want to go there.
Man.
Sorry.
Politics.
And he hung up on me. Now, I walked out, and now I know I can't go to either Chicago Police, Cook County, and I can't even go to the FBI. But one thing I learned about investigations is sometimes when you talk to people and you don't get what you want, go back and check again on what they're doing, and maybe you can recontact them and get what you want later. Well, you know what I found out? Not even 2 years after I talked to him about asking for his help, he retired after 22 years with the FBI, where he had been the senior supervising resident agent at the Palos Park office. And I find out from checking, his history, that he then took a job with the Cook County Sheriff as the Inspector General for Cook County.
How convenient.
He worked there from July 2014 for 2 years and 9 months and left there in March of 2017. But I'll tell you this, good friend, you bet he's a good friend of Sheriff Dart.
Thick as thieves, apparently.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he left there in March 2017, he just happened to walk across the street to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, all right, as a bureau chief of investigations, handling cold cases. Gacy's pretty cold, ain't it? Those bodies weren't identified.
Yep.
Dart said he wanted to find out who they were. You got an FBI agent with all this talent and experience now in charge. Did he ever pick up the Gacy case? Never. But yeah, he was a good friend of Sheriff Dart.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it makes me sick.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you this. The one thing I have to say, I don't want to indict the entire FBI because at that meeting, it was only him and 2 younger agents. I don't know how far he took that in the FBI, if he ever talked to anybody else in the FBI. But I do know that when he left, he took a job with Sheriff Dart.
Yep. I mean,
And I'm suspicious about that.
yeah, well, I mean, it stinks to high hell, you know?
Yeah.
So Miranda Lee, I don't know if you're late to the story. Bill is
Finally here.
yeah, Bill. No, but Bill is a former Chicago homicide detective, and we are the people that are doing the digging. We are we're doing it. So I like it.
We'll wait till winter, after winter.
Yeah, in the spring. So that's what we're doing. You know, that's what the whole purpose of this isn't just 2 guys talking about it. Like, the entire point of what we're doing is to kind of let you guys in on the story so you can follow it along with us. We'll be documenting everything. We'll be filming everything. And, you know, I mean, we'll see what happens, but yeah, like that's what Bill and I are doing. Exactly what you just asked, Miranda. So it seemed like you weren't clear on that. Yeah. We're just not talking about it. We're doing the digging. And Kelt, I've seen you ask a lot of questions. And for anybody out there, I cannot stress enough, and please, any of my mods that are still here, put the link up to my podcast. The Gacy season part 1 will answer any question you have, and specifically answers that question, Kelt, like in my 3rd episode. Like I lay it out for you exactly how they would have stopped him. Like, and it's unbelievable. It's 36 episodes. I got Bill Kunkel performed his closing. That's how I end it. My father performed his opening argument that only the people in that courtroom ever heard. I talked to like every old cop that was alive. We interviewed. I saw somebody asking, I think it was Kelt, if there were former employees that had survived. Interviewed them. We interviewed everybody. It's unbelievable. There's been nothing like it that's done. Any of the documentaries you've ever seen, we blow it out of the water. The only thing it doesn't have is video. It's like you have to listen to it, but driving in your car, walking your dog, doing some housework, doing chores, it's a great time to listen to podcasts, laying in bed, trying to fall asleep. And I've got a very soothing voice. I will help you. If you are a insomniac, I've been told that my voice is very soothing and can help. Yeah, Bill, Joe, what's up, Joe Jackalone? This is our resident retired New York homicide dick.
Hey, Joe.
Joe. Yeah, we do. I've got somebody lined up for that that we will have with us, and she's ready for action. So is that it for tonight, my friend?
Well, yeah, I think we got the holidays. I want people to be joyous and enjoy their families, and families are everything to me, and their families are everything to these poor parents and siblings of these people that went missing.
Cousins, friends, like the reach is massive.
And families are still waiting for answers.
100%.
So I mean, in my book, there's about another 15 chapters that we're going to go into, and it's all never before been told information. Law enforcement never investigated. I did, and it's in here.
The book's unbelievable. If you guys can throw the link up in the chat, I don't know if any. I think my mods are still in here. Can we throw the link to Bill's book up there? It's unbelievable. The level of detail is unbelievable.
It's self-published on Amazon, okay, and it's omnipotent, which I thought was appropriate for this story. And don't ask, don't tell. If you don't ask questions, you don't get answers.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And all right, so y'all, I don't know that I'll be live again before Christmas. So if that is a holiday that you celebrate, I wish everybody out there and their families the happiest of holidays. Bill, I wish your wife and your boys the happiest of holidays. I hope it's healthy and happy, and that you have a wonderful time. And I look forward to you. I'm hoping that I can wrangle you up in between Christmas and New Year. We'll throw another one out there and keep this train running, man. And
we got to hope for a cleaner beginning next podcast.
I mean, like we're getting the hang of it, my friend. We're getting the hang of it. But like, and for all of you out there, look, I'm 300 away. Allie and I are 300 away from 10,000 subs. We're so excited to break that threshold. If you haven't, please subscribe. It would mean the world to us. If you like what you see, if you like our content, please let other people know about it. Word of mouth is huge, and make sure you're liking and sharing. It's big for us. We think we bring some pretty good content, y'all. And we're excited about it. And then we've got all my friends out there. Joe Jackalone has an amazing YouTube channel. Hopefully my mods will throw Joe's channel link into the chat as well. Also JBN with Jay, Shaming a Jay. He's got a great channel. His wife Shan's just started her own channel, which is going to be phenomenal. I think she's dropped at least her first live went, which was great. And she's an amazing woman, and she really talks about amazing things. And I think that especially like our women subscribers will really enjoy Shannon, but men too. But like women will really resonate with Shannon because she's the truth. And then of course my boys at Publicly Buzzed, Steve and Dan just kill it, and I love them. They're like just great human beings, and they put out great content. So, and teamwork makes the dream work. So hopefully I didn't forget any of our shows, but like we're all homies, and we all try to support each other. So like I really hope that you guys will check them out. You won't regret it, because I only try to associate with the cream of the crop, and all of those shows are that. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging with Bill and I through our little hiccup. We hope that it was worth it, and we look forward to seeing you on the next live. So stay tuned for the next live. We'll keep you updated. And again, everyone have an absolutely Merry Christmas, and I hope everybody gets what Santa brings, and it's what you asked for. So without further ado, let's get out of here, Bill.
Enjoy the holidays, pal.
See ya. You too.
Best ever.
Oh, and thank you, mods. I always forget to thank my mods, so I want to make sure I love you guys. Thank you for everything that you do. You guys are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was not about to let this go without thanking my mods again. All right, y'all. Later.